Hello everybody, good morning. Today is 13th of September. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Good morning Aditya, good morning Akansha, Pallavi, good morning to everybody. Friends, into the today's video, we will be taking up the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper and we'll see if there are some good articles onto the Indian Express explained section also. First of all, friends, taking up the overview of the articles today. So first of all, if we see the Indian Express, so into the Indian Express, we can see that the first of all, the terror's new age has been talked about, where the terrorist activities that are going into the Afghanistan, etc., has been talked about. Now, guys, into this particular article, much of the important substance has not been there. Moreover, already there are the similar articles that we will be taking up into the Hindu newspaper. Then the below article, guys, it is talking about the Battle of Sargrahi as a movie is being released on it. Earlier, the Akshay Kumar movie was there, and now the movie by Randeep Hooda is coming. So, guys, into that particular thing also much of a substance with respect to the UPSC has not been there. Now guys, going into the Hindu newspaper, so basically as we see into the Hindu, first page is containing majorly the political news such as the Bhupender Patel who had been elected as the new CM into the state of Gujarat. There is some of a political maneuver that is going on, and as of that this arrangement has been done. Then guys, the other articles such as the students taking the NEET examination, etc., has been talked about. However, below there is an article which is talking about that how the youth plays an important role into the national development. Such comments or such observations have been made by the Chief Justice of India. We will be seeing this particular article at the below. Then further moving on, guys. After that, thus into the city page, basically the regional issues with respect to the Delhi, etc., has been mentioned. Nothing very much important here. You can just leave it. Then guys, further moving on, we reach to the editorial page, and onto the editorial page, this particular editorial, the global war on terror with no tangible result, is talking or critically analyzing the USA's intervention into the Afghanistan. So we will see that what has been provided. Then the below article is there. It is again talking about the 9/11 and all such kind of things. Then guys, this side article, it is talking about the BJP, BJP bringing the new chief minister into the state of Gujarat, and it is a kind of some political strategy that the government is taking up with respect to UPSC. Nothing at all important into this particular article. Then guys, this particular article is talking about the BCCI and how basically some players are prioritizing the IPL over the test cricket. So again, such kind of observations have been made. Nothing important again for our examination. Then this particular article, guys, it is analyzing the Q1 GDP estimate data that have been released. We will see it. Then the below article, it is talking about a selective nuclear policy. Into this particular thing, basically it has been provided that how the North Korea is now again taking up their nuclear ambitions, and what has happened into this thing we will be seeing in a comprehensive manner. Then on to the page number 8, this first article, it is talking about the light combat aircraft Mark 2 that is going to be developed. So with respect to GS paper number 3, we will see this article. Fine. Then here the below Supreme Court to hear pleas for the snooping. So this is about the Pegasus spyware controversy that was there. So the petition was made into the Supreme Court. So today the Supreme Court will be hearing it, and we will see that what will be coming out of it. So today will be the hearing. Maybe the next day the finding will be coming out. Then further moving on, guys, now this particular page, the mainly the political news, etc., has been contained, not important for our exam. Then this article below, it talks about the vacancies that have been filled into the NCLT ITAT. We will see that what has happened. Fine. Then other articles are not important onto this particular page, guys. So after that, onto the next page, the nursing syllabus for nursing syllabus has been revamped, and all such kind of things are there. Fine. Then moving on, after that, guys, onto the world page, again the issues with respect to the 9/11 anniversary and all such kind of thing is there. The below article, it is talking about a very important development that has happened between the Iran and the IAEA. So we will be seeing that what has happened into this particular development. After that, guys, today is Monday, so business page doesn't come. So today comes the money wise page, which contains the investing and all such kind of things. However, if for the UPSC, this page is not relevant for us. So guys, that is all about the articles that we are going to take up today. And now let's take the articles one by one. Now, first of all, guys, starting up with the today's GS quote. So today we will be taking a quote from the Wes Fessler, and Wes Fessler has said that good men are bounded by conscience and liberated by accountability. So basically, what is the marker of one's credibility, or what is the marker of one's morality? A person, or a person who will be moral, a person who will be ethical, he will always be restricted by the conscience. Now the conscience is the inner voice that we have, and this inner voice acts as a moral compass. It always tells us what is to be done, what is not to be done. Now the good men are the one who are bound by the conscience, who can hear this voice of conscience and can take actions accordingly, and they are liberated by the accountability. Accountability means the answerability with respect to the power, with respect to the authority that has been there. So the good men, when the accountability they present, they feel more liberated, they feel more emancipated. So this is the hallmarks or the qualities of the people with good character. Friends, we can utilize this particular idea into the GS paper number 4, ethics, integrity and aptitude, human values, and with respect to the values that are needed to be there into the public servants also, we can utilize this particular idea. So that is all about the GS code for today. Now taking up the first article. Now, guys, on to here, we have actually clubbed the two articles that have been there, which is talking about the nuclearization that is going on. Now, first of all, guys, before going into this particular article, we would like to discuss some of the background first of all. See, when we talk about basically when we talk about the uranium, you know that the uranium is a kind of a fissile element, and because of that, new uranium has a huge potential. It can generate immense amount of energy. Now guys, when we talk about the uranium as a chemical compound, fine, it exists into the nature, and when uranium is being talked about, it has actually three types of isotope within it. Within the uranium, naturally occurring uranium, there is U-235, there is U-234, and there is U-238. Now guys, in terms of concentration, basically the U-230, basically in terms of concentration, when we talk about the U-234 is the one which is having the most concentration. 99.2% of the naturally occurring uranium, it contains the U-234. However, the U-234 is not fissile. It cannot be used for harnessing the energy. For energy and for fissile and or that particular kind of thing, the U-235 is the most important isotope, but its concentration is very, very less. 0.0007% is the concentration of the U-235. So what we need to do, if you want to develop the energy out of the uranium, you need to enhance the concentration of this U-235. Now what happens, we do a process that is the uranium enrichment. Into the uranium enrichment, basically there are many of the processes which is there, but the most common process is that we will be putting the uranium into a centrifuge. This centrifuge will be rotating very rapidly, and as this centrifuge will be rotating very rapidly, what will happen, the heavier isotopes, fine, they will basically be scattered onto the side walls, and the lighter isotopes, they will be scattered into the midways, fine. And into this particular way, what will happen, we can isolate the U-235 which we need. So basically the uranium enrichment is a process by which into the naturally occurring uranium we increase the presence or the concentration of the U-235. Now, if you actually increase the concentration of U-235 up till 20%, it is said that this enrichment has been done for majorly for the peace purposes, for developing the energy. So this particular uranium will be used into the uranium nuclear reactors, and the electricity will be produced. However, if you want to use the same uranium for the war or for developing the nuclear bombs, then much more uranium enrichment is to be done. And any enrichment above the 20%, like 40, 50, 60 or 80%, will be called as the enrichment done for the war purpose or for developing the bomb and all such kind of thing. Now guys, the uranium enrichment actually is done by all the countries into the world, but the countries says that we are doing the uranium enrichment so that we can use the uranium as a fuel into our nuclear reactors. Now guys, this particular enrichment becomes a kind of a controversy when the enrichment of more than 20% is being done. And into this particular capacity, what is the scenario? Actually, there are the two countries which have always been there into the limelight. That is, one is the Iran and other is the North Korea. Fine. Why? Because it is believed that both the countries, that is the North Korea and the Iran, they are carrying their uranium enrichment not for the peaceful purpose but for the war. And into this particular direction, these two articles have been there today. So what this particular article is talking about? First of all, guys, we will be talking about the development that has happened into the Iran. So basically, when we talk about the Iran, guys, as I told you that Iran is doing this uranium enrichment for so many years, and it was said by the America that the uranium enrichment by the Iran is more than 20%. They will use it for developing the bombs, and this thing will be problematic for the regional security. So guys, what had happened actually from so many years, this is before 2015. So before 2015, for so many years, there was a different sanctions that were imposed onto the Iran because of their role that they were, because of the enrichment that they were doing. Now guys, what happened actually, to break this particular impasse, to break this particular kind of a confrontation that was going between the Iran and the USA, there was an agreement that was signed in 2015, and this particular agreement is called as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Into this Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, an agreement was reached between the Iran and the P5+1. P5 is the permanent five. Who are these permanent five? China, France, Germany, Russia, and United Kingdom, and along with the European Union was also there. So actually 7 countries were there which came into the agreement. One is the Iran, 5 are the P5, and 1 is the European Union. So these 7, they came into agreement, and it was said that the Iran will be opening up their all the nuclear enrichment sites to the International Atomic Energy Agency. Fine, it will be opening all their sites to the IAEA. Fine, and in return, the sanctions that have been imposed onto the Iran, it will be reduced. Fine. Now this particular landmark deal was actually signed by the US President Barack Obama, and it was mediated by the Oman. Okay. Now it was expected that after 1979, the relations that were deteriorated between the Iran and the West, they will improve after that. However, guys, at that point of time, if I tell you, into the USA, this particular deal was not ratified by the Senate into the USA, but still the president under its executive powers carried on with this particular deal. Now you know that after the Barack Obama, the new president Donald Trump came to the power, and as Donald Trump came to the power, Donald Trump provided this particular thing that the deal that has been signed, it is a horrible one-sided deal and it should never have been made. It was said that into this particular thing, nothing has been gained by the USA, and again what happened, the JCPOA was cancelled by the USA, it withdrew from it, and again the sanctions were imposed onto the Iran. Now guys, this particular decision was actually criticized by the European countries, particularly the France, UK, and it was said that such kind of a thing is wrong onto the part of a USA. Okay, and it was said that actually Iran was in compliance with the obligation, and it was certified by the International Atomic Energy Agency that all into a peaceful manner they were carrying their uranium enrichment program. It was not a problem, and at that point of time, European countries also given assurance to the Iran that basically we will convince the USA to come again back onto the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. But during the time of Donald Trump, never USA joined back the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Now guys, what had happened, as the Joe Biden had become the new president, it was expected that the Joe Biden will be again be bringing the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action onto the table. But guys, nothing much has happened into this particular thing. Now what is the case is actually the Iran, it is now again basically Iran, it has now agreed to some kind of a conditions in order to ease this particular confrontation, and Iran had allowed that IAEA, it can install basically their surveillance into the nuclear enrichment facilities. IAEA, it can install their memory cards into the nuclear power plants of the Iran, and by that thing they can keep a video recording of the activities that are happening into the Iran's premises. So this particular development that has happened actually is a very good positive thing, because by this particular thing Iran will look that Iran is further coming into the further coming into the compliance, that it is opening up to the Western countries and they should remove the sanctions. So this is a positive signal that has been given by the Iran. Iran is ready to show its development into the nuclear power plants. It has allowed the International Atomic Energy Agency to carry a surveillance. That is the one development that has happened. Now Friends, we have used what many a times the name of this International Atomic Energy Agency, what it stands for. Basically, this is an organization within the United Nations framework, and this organization is also called as the Atom for Peace and Development Organization. And this particular organization actually carries a surveillance on all the countries which have developed the nuclear capabilities, and it sees that no country is misutilizing the uranium and nuclear capabilities. Basically, the IAEA, it has a sanction, it has a kind of a mandate that under the UN as well as under the UNSC, it can submit its report from time to time manner. Now, this particular organization was created into the 1957 at that time because the nuclear technologies and nuclear know-how was developing, and it is headquartered into the Vienna. So that is the one development that has happened onto the front of nuclearization. Now guys, the second development that has happened, it is into the context of the North Korea. Now we know that the North Korea is also carrying their nuclear program, and they are enriching the nuclear, and basically up to the tune of 80 to 95% of nuclear enrichment they are doing. Fine. Now into this particular capacity guys, what happened during the time of Donald Trump, there was the Kim Trump summit that was held between the North Korea and the USA. Now the Kim Trump summit held in 2018 as well as in 2019, and here the Donald Trump asked the North Korea that you need to give up your nuclear enrichment that you are doing in many of the facilities, and in return we will reduce some of your sanctions that we have imposed onto you. Now guys, what happened at that point of time, basically the North Korea asked the Donald Trump that okay, what we will do, there is one of a nuclear enrichment facility into the North Korea, that is the Youngbong Complex. We will completely shut down this Youngbong Complex, and in return you need to remove all the sanctions that are there onto the North Korea. This was the condition that was made by the North Korea. Now the USA said that if you will discontinue this Youngbong Complex, we can reduce some of the sanctions, but the entire sanctions we cannot reduce, because for that much more is to be done. But the North Korea put it as a leave or take it away kind of a deal, and because of that particular thing in 2019, basically the deal fell through. However guys, just as a kind of a symbolic gesture, anyhow the North Korea discontinued their Youngbong Complex for 2 years. Basically for 2 to 2.5 years, no activity was being carried into the Youngbong. Now guys, here you can see basically this is the map of the North Korea, and into the North Korea all these are the major nuclear facilities. Fine. Now this particular nuclear facility, it is the Youngbong facility. Okay, then the Kangye, it is also a very important nuclear facility. Okay, and this particular one, fine, here it is the DMZ, that is the demilitarized zone. Okay, this is the boundary between the North Korea and the South Korea. So here there is the Youngbong. Now what happened, as I told you that this particular facility was closed. Fine. Okay, but again now in 2021 the reports are coming that this Youngbong Complex has again been restarted by the North Korea. So basically a kind of a dilemma has come into the world countries, that what needs to be the response against the North Korea. Should we again reimpose a new round of sanctions onto the North Korea, or we should ignore this particular thing? Now first of all, basically it has been provided that there are few perspectives that developed into this particular direction. Perspective number one, see, it has been said that actually now the North Korea had further developed their enrichment program, and the Youngbong Complex might not be the only facility where they might be carrying the nuclear enrichment. There are many of the undisclosed location where actually the nuclear enrichment is going on. So basically the Youngbong should not be a center of concern. It has become a kind of into a limelight also after the 2019. So here, even if they are doing, much of the work might not be done, and just to pick a kind of a contention, the North Korea is doing that particular thing. Second thing guys, it has been provided that if we see the North Korea's track record, North Korea has always behaved into a very weird kind of manner. For example, basically in 2008, in order to buttress the due denuclearization commitment, fine, what did the Pyongyang at in 2018 also blew up the cooling tower at the Youngbong Complex. They said that okay, we will not use the Youngbong Complex. In 2008 also this particular thing was done. Fine. However, after and into the response, the USA also removed some kind of a sanction, but just after few months the North Korea made a kind of a U-turn, and what it did, it basically expelled the IAEA inspectors from accessing the reprocessing at the Youngbong Complex. Why they were expelled, why they were removed, Only one logic is there, because they were carrying the uranium enrichment. So this particular thing was carried. Fine. Now guys, again what happened? First of all, they closed their Youngbong complex in 2019. Now again they have started. Now it is coming that actually the Joe Biden administration, the new president of USA, he has adopted a pragmatic path and had said that he is again ready to negotiate with the North Korea if North Korea will give up their nuclear enrichment program. Fine. But again, this is the kind of a thing, whether this thing will be achieving any kind of a breakthrough or not, we have to see, because already in 2019 the attempt was made, but the attempt was not that much successful. Now guys, what could be the solution into this particular thing? What could be the way forward that you can suggest? So we can provide that the nuclearization of the world is actually a very threatening kind of aspect, and according to Mahatma Gandhi ji, it doesn't basically makes any impact to the dead people, whether the destruction was made into the name of democracy or whether it was made into the name of any kind of a totalitarianism. Violence is bad, destruction is bad, and when the nuclear enrichment will be there, when the nuclear development will be there, there will always be the destruction that will be coming. So what needs to be done? A UN treaty onto the complete abolition of the atomic arms need to be carried, and basically abandoning the nuclear weapons is only the moral superior alternative that the world can take, and this needs to be the approach right now. Fine. Because you see that so much of the confrontation are going because of the nuclearization aspect. So guys, that is all about this particular thing. Fine. I hope that you have understood it. Fine. And what will be the impact onto the India? Guys, India is a kind of a regional power, and because if any kind of a confrontation either into the West Asia will go or into the South Asia, Southeast Asia will go, it will be having a problem. So that is all guys about this particular article. I hope you have understood it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, this particular article, friends, taken up from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the Chief Justice of India's observation with respect to the role that the youth are playing into the national development. And this thing will be important for our GS paper number 2, demographic dividend. In GS paper number 4 also it can be utilized. Now guys, first of all, I'll tell you the context into which this thing is happening. See, basically the Chief Justice of India was was basically making an address. Now what has happened? Basically, in 1893, the Swami Vivekananda made an address into the Chicago. Okay. Now that particular address that was made was called as the World Parliament of Religion Address. Now this World Parliament of Religion Address was one where basically the Swami Vivekananda showed that there could be a kind of a connect between the spiritualism, between the materialism. Basically it was provided that the humanism needs to be actually a kind of a thing that should be given the all the importance. Moreover, the message of secularism was given by the Swami Vivekananda into this 1893 Chicago conference. Is it clear? Now guys, what had happened? Basically, this was the 128th anniversary of the historic Chicago address onto which the Chief Justice of India was talking upon. So basically, about the Chicago conference, nothing has been mentioned into this article. You need to know what was this Chicago address, the World Parliament of Religion address given by the Swami Vivekananda. Now moving on. So here, it has been provided by the Chief Justice of India that the youth are the one who had basically led the majority of the struggles into the India. The youth were the one which were forefront at the time of the freedom struggle. The youth were the one who were protesting against the emergency, and whenever the excess has been made by the political parties, whenever the authorities have been abused, the youth have the one who had come into the forefront. So basically, it has been said by the Chief Justice of India that the democratic rights that we take for granted, that we are just assuming that it has been given to us, they are the results of the struggles of the thousands of the young people who took to the streets fighting authoritarianism during the freedom struggle and during the dark days of emergency. These were the youth who basically sacrificed their lucrative careers. Take the people such as Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, fine. All they have basically gave up their lucrative careers just for the greater good of the nation and society. So it teaches us the value of sacrifice also. Fine. Trust the youth to check the basically deviation in a society's journey towards peace and progress, and they are the one who always be checking any kind of a wrong if it is happening into the society, whether the trajectory of the growth is going good or not. Basically, these will be the youth who will be taking up. Moreover, guys, here the Chief Justice of India also said that how Swami Vivekananda fine brought basically how he how he framed a kind of a consciousness into the people that the secularism is a kind of an important message, and how he framed a kind of a consciousness of awareness into the people, that is very much important, and that particular consciousness was incorporated into our constitution also. So the secular basically the Swami Vivekananda's consciousness we should also appreciate. So this is the key message that has been given here. Now guys, these kind of things can be used in some of an answer, fine, where you are basically talking about the role played by the youth, the demography here. So we can give that the CGI has also talked on to this particular thing. It enhances the credibility of your answer. That is all about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, this particular article, guys, have been taken up from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the quarter 1 GDP numbers that have been released. Now, basically, the article has been written by C. Rangarajan and the D.K. Srivastav, who have been one of the most prominent economists of India. So we will see that what are their observations onto the quarter 1 number or the quarter 1 data. However, friends, if you remember, already we have discussed this particular analysis, fine, and with respect to some of other lines, we will be making a kind of an analysis. Now, before that, it will be important for our GS paper number 3 as well as into the prelims also. Some of the concepts that we'll be using here will be important. Now guys, first of all, what do we understand by the GDP? Fine, GDP stands for the gross domestic product. GDP, it is the sum total of all the finished goods and services that are produced into a 1 year into a country or within a specific time window. Okay, so this is the GDP. Again, I'm repeating, the value of all the goods and services into an economy. Suppose there is an economy, and in economy there is a pen that is being made, there is a car that is being made, fine, then there are certain services that are being given, the services of doctors, the services of insurance, etc. What will be the total value if you basically calculate it? Let's say that the total value of all this pen, car, doctor services, etc. is 100 rupees. We will say that the GDP of a nation is 100 rupees. Okay, so basically guys, if we come onto a technical term, when we talk about the GDP, we get GDP by calculating 4 of the elements. Okay, what are these 4 elements? First is the private final consumption expenditure. Okay, private final consumption expenditure is the expenditure done by the private individuals like me and you. So basically we are carrying the expenditure. Obviously when we'll do the expenditure, we will either get some service or we will get a good. So by seeing our expenditure, we can also see that what goods and what services have been there. If every private individual's expenditure will see, we will get to know that okay, how much of the goods and services were produced. So private final consumption expenditure there. Then there is the gross fixed capital formation. Now the gross fixed capital formation is the investment. Okay, so what are the investments that are being made by you, me, different institutions? That also if we will see, then guys, we will again be getting some kind of number here. Then the third is the government final consumption expenditure. Now government is also consuming a lot number of goods, government is also procuring large number of services. So if you calculate it, then also you will get us kind of a number. And then guys, finally it is the net export or the export minus the import. So what is the net export? It is the goods of India that have been consumed by the rest of the world. So as the rest of the world is consuming, obviously the goods were created into the India. So guys, when we combine all these 4, we get the total goods and services that were there into a year. Now what has happened? Basically the GDP, when you talk about the GDP, we can compare GDP, usually we compare GDP onto the year-on-year analysis. Okay, so this year's GDP we can compare with the last year, or there is some kind of a base also with which we can relate with it. So basically when we talk about the GDP, its number are released as a yearly estimate also and as the quarterly estimate also. Now what has happened? The quarter 1 estimate of the 2021-22, this financial year, has been released recently by the National Statistical Office, NSO. Now what are the findings of this particular data? Number 1 guys, it has been provided that the GDP growth for the quarter 1, fine, it has been 20.1%. okay, now why it is 20.1%? You need to understand behind this, because the conceptual thing is lying. It is a 20.1% because of the favorable base effect. Okay, now what is this favorable base effect guys? If you see the last year quarter 1, Fine. The last year Q1 was at the time when the national lockdown was going on, and at that point of time there was a huge decline into the economy. Okay, basically the industries were closed, the service sector were closed. If they were closed, no goods and services were being made, and neither they were being consumed. So basically the economy went very much down into the last year. 24.4% contraction was there. And when we compare this Q1 with the last year's Q1, obviously there will be a favorable base effect that will be there, and comparing on to that particular line, this month we get a very positive result. Is it clear? So you need to understand that the base effect always plays an important role. If the base effect last year will be very much low, then guys, this year we will be showing a kind of a very robust growth. So because of this 20.1% growth is being seen. Now guys, even this 20.1% growth rate is there, okay, but still it is being said that this year we will our GDP will be falling short when compared with the pre-COVID pandemic era, that is the 2019-2020. 3.3 lakh crore rupees contraction has happened into our economy. Even this 20.1% growth rate is not able to rescue with us. It was said that actually if we wanted to achieve the growth of 2019-20, not 20%, rather we needed the growth of 32.3%. If this would have been the growth, then only we would have achieved the GDP comparable to the 2019-2020. So that is actually a kind of a thing that has been provided. Now guys, it is that now the next quarters will also be coming. The Q1 has been coming out, the data has been provided. Q2, Q3, Q4 will be there. So if we want to maintain the growth that was predicted by the RBI and the IMF, that is the growth of 9.5% of this particular year, then guys, into the coming quarters also at least 6.8% of the growth is to be there. If into the Q1 we got 20%, if in Q2, 3, 4 we get the 6.8%, then the average growth of 9.5% will be achieved. Okay, that has been provided. Okay, guys, again there is a kind of a challenge. In Q1 we got the advantage of a favorable base year. Last year Q1 was very much low, but after that Q3 and Q4 of the last year, that is the 2020, they were good. Why? Because at that point of time the COVID cases were going down. So when the Q3 of this year will be compared with Q3 of last year, then guys, there might be some kind of a low growth rate that could go down because the favorable base effect will not come there. So that will be the one challenge that we will be seeing. Now here it has been provided that first of all, when we see one of the biggest component of the GDP, that is the private final consumption expenditure. Fine guys, you remember here I told you that GDP is made up of all these four components. So here the private final consumption expenditure is being talked about. So into the GDP, PFCE, it is the biggest component, and around 56.5% of GDP is composed by the private final consumption expenditure, the consumption that you all are doing. Now into this particular thing, it has been provided that the private final consumption expenditure, it has just grown at 19.3%, which is good, but guys, it is lower than the GDP growth rate. Okay, what is the GDP growth rate? It is around 20%, and the private final consumption expenditure had grown at 19.3%. So basically the private final consumption has gone down, and this particular thing should not go down because it contributes the largest. Now why the private final consumption expenditure is going down? Because guys, the incomes of the people has been declined. 90% of our economy is working into the informal sector. They have lost their jobs, so they are not able to give the demand. So this thing has happened. So therefore immediately government need to take steps so that more employment is created, more money is pumped into the hands of the people. So if with this particular element we need to improve, then it has been provided. On to the demand side, there is actually a positive outcome that has come into the next sector, that is the gross fixed capital formation. Okay, and into the sector of exports. Okay, so I told you that there are other, the export, it is here, and the gross fixed capital formation, it is here. So the onto the investment, positivity is there, though guys, positivity at the level of 2019 has not been there, but into the export sector particularly we have improved very much, and even better improvement than the pre-COVID era to the 2019 we have done onto the export front. So export front is a good thing. Then after that guys, it has been provided that actually if you see the government final consumption expenditure, it has actually been contracted at 4.8% even compared to the last year. So government is not doing much of the consumption expenditure, and always it has been seen that whenever the economy is into the crisis, the government does more and more expenditure so that more and more money goes into the economy. So basically government final consumption expenditure, there is a contraction of 4.8%, minus 4.8%. so this is actually one kind of a element here. Then it has been provided that when we talk about the agriculture sector has showed a steady growth rate of 4.5% into the quarter 1 of 21-22. Moreover, agriculture last year also had grown overall positively, that is 3.6%, and actually the agriculture was the only positive hope for the last year. Fine, this year also the agriculture is going good, that is one particular kind of thing. But guys, we don't need to be very happy by seeing the agriculture's growth. Number one, the reason is that in terms of absolute output, okay, the contribution of agriculture into our GDP is not that much. Just 15% of our GDP is constituted of the agriculture. So even if the agriculture will be growing very much high, significant improvement into the GDP will not be coming. If basically into our GDP, significant contribution is of the manufacturing sector and service sector. So these two sectors need to grow. Okay, that is one thing that has been provided here. Okay, after that, guys, the next issue that is coming is that basically the contraction by the government of 4.8% shows that okay, government is controlling their expenditure, but right now the expenditure should not be controlled that much. Okay, then guys, after that it has been provided that the coverage of vaccination and the pace of investment into the health infrastructure should be accelerated if we want to tame the economy. We need to give a kind of a boost to our economy, because if the vaccination will not be improved, health infrastructure will not be improved, subsequent waves of lockdown will be coming, and our economy will always be facing a kind of a crisis. Okay, so that has been provided. Moreover, it is provided that government should not focus too much onto the fiscal deficit, because 6.8% of relaxation is given. Fine, and that is the basically thing. So government should spend more into the economy. So these are the key messages that have been given into this particular article. Guys, the article has been written in too much of a technical kind of a language, but I made my entire effort that it should be understandable to you into the most simple kind of language. However, all these particular concepts, guys, why we need to see it? Because for understanding the state of Indian economy, we need to know all these particular kind of trend, number one. Number two, in order to make sense with other kind of a complex concepts of the economy also, these kind of concepts should be clear. That is all about this article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, friends, these particular two articles have been taken up from the Hindu newspaper, and both of these articles are assessing the 9/11 attack of the USA, and after that what has been the strategy of the USA. Now this particular below article, it is a kind of a brief personal reflection, a kind of a personal account, and this is the above article, okay, which is written by geostrategic thinker Brahm Chalani. So basically the message that has been given is a kind of a very concise kind of a message. It is being provided here that first of all, if we see presently, the US president, fine, he is being criticized around into the entire world that he had actually made the world less safe. He had actually pulled out of the Afghanistan, and that pulling out of the Afghanistan will be bringing even more crisis into the times to come. It has been provided. Okay, now even if we see the approval rating of the Joe Biden has reached into the 40%, okay, 44%, which is the lowest of any kind of a president. Now it is provided that actually Joe Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan had actually laid a particular kind of a ground for another 9/11. Okay, now the Afghanistan has become more kind of destabilized, and even more terrorist groups will be finding the refuge into the Afghanistan under the Taliban leadership. Moreover, the Afghanistan Pakistan belt that has now created, it will be making India as the biggest loser out of that particular thing. Now as India need to devote much of the wavelength onto the Afghanistan, India will be having less of a resources to focus onto the expansionist China. So therefore, in order to control the China also, this particular thing is very much problematic. Then guys, it has been provided that actually the Joe Biden had not able to understand some of the things. So Joe Biden had said that there are two type of terrorist group. One are the good terrorists, other are the bad terrorists. Okay, for example, the Taliban, which had come now into the Afghanistan, they are saying that they are the good terrorist, and the organizations such as the ISISK. Now ISISK, K stands for Khorasan. Now this ISISK was responsible for the Kabul bombings that have happened. So Joe Biden had said that ISISK, Al Qaeda, Haqqani network, these are the bad terrorist organizations. But the Joe Biden is not understanding this thing, that actually the Haqqani network, Al Qaeda, they are intertwined very closely with the Taliban. Even the Minister of Interior into Afghanistan, he is the leader of the Haqqani network. So actually the Taliban cannot be segregated from the bad terrorist group. This assessment you have not made. After that, guys, it has been provided that the after that it has been provided that what you have done, you have just replaced the Taliban 1 with the Taliban 2, nothing substantial has been achieved. So this particular thing has been provided, that 20 years of the 9/11 anniversary we just celebrated, but what have been the achievement into the Afghanistan? No achievement has been there into the Afghanistan as per the article. Fine. Further, basically it has been provided that within the USA also, after the 9/11, the USA had become much suspicious of the Muslims. The Patriot Act of the USA that has been that has actually been created after the 9/11, it has seen all the Muslims with the suspicion, and the people of holding the American passport even, they have been seen with the suspicion, and it will be the violation of a fundamental right, and a type of a surveillance state has been created into the USA, where the citizens' dignity, citizens' liberties, citizens' privacy has just been made actually a kind of a fun of. It has been ignored. So these are the assessment on to the USA on 9/11 anniversary. Apart from this, nothing has been there. Fine. Already guys, on Saturday also many of the articles on 9/11 we have seen. Now for coming days, such kind of articles will be coming every day. You don't need to see every day-to-day development into this particular direction. So that is all guys about this particular article. Now we'll move to the next article. Now, this particular article, it is talking about the NAT grid, or the National Intelligence Grid. Now, according to the Prime Minister, this National Intelligence Grid will be made operational soon. Fine. Now, guys, this particular NAT grid is under the development since 2008, and now more than 13 years have passed. This net grid has actually not come onto the paper, but now it is being provided that the net grid will soon be made operationalized. So what is this net grid that we will be understanding today? Now guys, when we talk about the net grid, what it will be a kind of a platform where all the data, all the information will be stored. Okay, it will be collated, it will be curated, it will be organized, and it will be stored. So net grid will be the national intelligence grid. Okay, now what is actually the case, guys? I tell you, you know that in 2008 there were the terror attacks that were held into the Mumbai. Now this particular planning was going on for so many months, even before the 2008. Headley, fine, Headley, the international terrorist, he came to the India many a times to make the planning for this particular thing, and many of other terrorist leaders also, they came to the India, but that particular thing was not caught onto the radar. Why? Because guys, the information that is there into the India, it is existing into the silos. David Headley, he is coming in India and purchasing a kind of a flight ticket, then he is going into the hotels, spending the money there, withdrawing money from the ATM card. Fine. So some information is there with the bank, some information is with there the airline, some information is there in some other kind of a telecom domain, etc. So it is provided that if we have all this particular information at one particular place, we can draw out the themes, we can draw the patterns, and we can identify that okay, this particular individual looks suspicious, and the red flags can be carried into the advance. So after 2008, such kind of a integrated platform of information was envisaged that will be created, and it was said that actually the 10 central agencies such as the Intelligence Bureau, RAW, etc. will be having the access of that particular platform, and the data from 21 organizations will be collected. Now the 21 organizations such as the telecom, the tax records, the bank, the immigration. So these are the 21 organizations that will be giving the data, and data will be available to the 10 central intelligence organizations, and it will be helping in identifying the patterns where the terrorist activities might be evolving. Now, basically, when we talk about the net grid, there is a kind of a criticism also of the net grid. Criticism number one, that when such kind of huge data is being collected, obviously the data of the other citizens will also be collected, and it might be the violation of privacy if this particular data is leaked, or if this particular data is used for some other kind of ulterior motive. Moreover, guys, if we add one point from our own side, you know that up till now the personal data protection bill has not been passed, and as the personal data protection bill has not been passed, the safeguard onto the data privacy has not been there. So into that particular thing, creating such kind of a database at one point will be leading to the violation of law, right to privacy. Then second thing that has come here, guys, into the mandate of the national net grid, basically the central agencies have been given the role, state police and the state agencies have not been given a role. Now you know that the state police and state enforcement are the first responders into any kind of a terrorist attack or such kind of thing, so they are not being given any kind of an accessibility. It has been provided that it will be the violation of the federalism principle, because all power will be with the center. Then after that, guys, it has been provided that The experts have provided that such a digital database such as NetGrid can be misused, fine, for the state surveillance. So that will also be a kind of a problem. Okay. But still, guys, we cannot say that entirely the NetGrid is actually a flawed kind of a concept. We need NetGrid also. The reason being because of the intelligence. Fine. Now the police always relying on to very harsh method of interrogation. Fine. It is still using the primitive methods of investigation. And if we want to make our policing smart, if we want to make our enforcement smart, such kind of a state of art things we need to take it up. Moreover, guys, one other argument you can give that okay, privacy and all the kind of thing are important, but the national security is even more important. So on to that particular front, we can justify the net grid also. So guys, this is one thing that will be coming, and with respect to GS paper number 3, it is a very good important initiative. Fine, I hope you have understood it. And now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article, it has been taken up again from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the LCA Mk2. It stands for the Light Combat Aircraft Mark II. Fine, it will roll out the next year, and the first flight will be made in 2023. So basically, one of our scientists had given these kind of details with respect to the aircrafts that are being developed. So basically, when we talk about the LCA Mark II, this particular aircraft, it features a enhanced range, fine, with respect to the aircraft range, the high endurance, okay, onboard oxygen generation system will be there. Okay, then guys, the heavy class of weapons such as the class of scalp weapons, crystal maze, spice 2000 will be integrated onto this Mark II. Fine, and this LCA Mark II will be a heavier and much more capable aircraft that are the earlier light craft aircrafts such as the Tejas. So the Tejas, etc., these are very light capability kind of aircrafts, but this Mark II will be a high capability aircraft, and in 2023 it will be rolled out. Okay, so that has been provided. However, guys, you don't need to go too much into this particular kind of detail because nothing very much important. However, if such kind of a thing such as aircraft carrier, etc., is being coming into the news, that happens to be even more important than this. So just that information has been provided. I hope you have understood it. And now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article taken up from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the visit of the Saudi Arabia and Iranian foreign minister that will be made into the India. Now guys, up till now the visit has not had happened. It will be made. Fine. Basically, the Iranian foreign minister's visit has been rescheduled because of the SCO summit in which he is participating, and the Saudi Arabia foreign minister might be coming into this particular week. So basically, as they will come, we will see that what MOUs will be signed, what things will happen. So we will see that when they will be coming. Now the key message that has been here, guys, is that if you see the West Asia, it is coming with closer to the India, and it is engaging with the India mainly onto the Afghanistan question. They are seeing that how into Afghanistan we can converge so that the Taliban is not given a mandate, so that the Taliban doesn't becomes a kind of a terror exporting nation. And guys, if you see the Saudi Arabia and the Iran, both are having the rivalry, but still they are finding the common partner into the form of India. It also shows the role that the India had played into the region, and it shows the success of the India's Act West policy. Is it clear? So that is the thing that has happened. Fine. However, guys, once they will be coming into the India, we will see that what has happened. This particular thing is only telling about their schedule, that okay, they were expected to come, but then it has been delayed. Nothing important with respect to UPSC. So that is all about this article, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, this particular article, guys, it pertains to the vacancies that have been filled into the NCLT, that is the National Company Law Tribunal, and ITAT, that is Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Now, guys, basically, first of all, the 31 people have been appointed. These are the judicial people, technical people, accountant members, etc. Not at all important for our examination. What we need to see here, it is that into the last few years, we have seen that the Supreme Court and the executive, they are having a kind of a tussle. And the tussle happens on to many of the reasons. Reason number one was the tribunal reform bill that were passed by the central government, fine, into which many of the tribunals were merged. fine. And with respect to many of the tribunals, the terms and conditions were also changed. According to the judiciary, that tribunal reform bill was an attack onto the independence of judiciary. Already guys, this tribunal reform bill 3-4 times we have discussed. Second issue was this guys, many of the vacancies into the tribunals, they were not being filled, and the Supreme Court made a comment on to the executive that do you want to close down these tribunals, why you are not filling the vacancies. Then the third reason was the high number of vacancies that were there into the Supreme Court as well as High Court. And fourth guys, basically the Supreme Court also commented on to the parliament that the law making had declined into the country. Basically the laws are being created into this particular manner that the common citizens is losing the trust onto the parliament. So because of these particular reasons, the tussle between the executive and the Supreme Court was going on. Now as I told you that one of a tussle was with respect to the high number of vacancies into the tribunal that was there. Into this particular direction, what had happened, 31 vacancies have been filled into the various tribunals such as the NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal, and the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Now these 31 vacancies are the judicial member, technical member, accountants, etc. that has been filled. You don't need to find that who has been appointed at which position. Guys, there are 250 positions that are vacant into the tribunal, and out of that 31 has now been fulfilled. That is actually a very positive kind of development, but guys, much more is to be done in fulfilling the vacancies. And apart from the filling the vacancies at the tribunal, other things such as filling the vacancies into the higher judiciary also needed to be taken up. Though guys, onto the Supreme Court we have seen that 9 judges in one go has been sworn in into the Supreme Court. That is a positive thing. But guys, onto the High Court also much more vacancies are now to be filled. That is actually a kind of a thing. Now guys, when we talk about the National Company Law Tribunal, the National Company Law Tribunal is a tribunal which basically takes up the matter related to the company law. Moreover, when we talk about the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, into the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code also the National Company Law Tribunal has been given a important role with respect to the resolution process of the companies. Fine. Then the ITAT, that is the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, it pertains to the income tax related matters. Fine. So guys, when we have seen few days back the Cairn controversy that was going on, so the Cairn controversy was appealed into the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. So that is this tribunal. Fine. And guys, generally when we talk about the tribunals, fine, there is article number 323A, fine, and article number 323B, which actually lays down the constitutional framework for the tribunal. And both of these articles were originally not into the constitution, they were added after the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, that the tribunals can be created. And now the state government, parliament, they have a power that by the law they can create a kind of a tribunal. Is it clear? When we talk about the tribunals, guys, the tribunals are the specific institutions which are having the judicial authority in some of a domain. Okay, they are different from the mainstream judiciary because guys, the mainstream judiciary has the judicial power with all the spheres, but tribunals have the judicial power with only one limited domain. Fine. So that is all guys with respect to this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article, it is talking about the nursing syllabus that have been revamped. Is it clear? Now guys, the nursing syllabus was not changed since 1947, and now it has been changed. Fine. Guys, nothing important in such kind of articles. What are the changes? What are new syllabus have come? Not important. However, one just point is there that into the nursing syllabus, the medical ethics now has been incorporated, and this is actually a positive thing because guys, when we talk about the ethics, ethics should not just be a theory, rather there is a practical aspect of ethics, that is the applied ethics, the application of ethics into the domain. So when we apply the ethics into the medicine, we get the medical ethics. We apply the ethics into the law, we get the legal ethics. When we apply the ethics into the administration, we get the administrative ethics. So into the nursing also the medical ethics needed to be there. So this particular thing has been added. Fine. So that is all guys. However, what are the internal changes? Not at all important for our examination. So that is all guys about the today's newspaper analysis. Friends, I hope that you are understanding these particular issues, and not just the news are important for UPSC. For UPSC, views are important. For UPSC, a kind of a opinion is more important, and I believe that you are understanding this particular opinion. Fine. So guys, move beyond the news and go towards the views. That is the thing which you will be requiring for this examination. That is all for today's friends. I hope you have understood it. Guys, please do hit the like button, please do subscribe to channel, and please do spread our word if you are liking our hard work. So that is all for today. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.